Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada. Jai Vishwal Paramahansa Parvyakshya Tirtha Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON संस्थापना Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Vishwal Paramahansa Parvyakshya Tirtha Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Vishwal Srila Gaura Kishodas Bhagavad Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Vishwal Satyendra Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki Jai. Jai Vishwal Vaishnav Sarvabhaum Sri Jagannath Das Bhagavad Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Agnash Goswami Prabhu ji Jai. Himacharya Shraddhas Thakur ki Jai. Prem se Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund ke Govardhan ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Ganga Mai ki Jai. Mani Mai ki Jai. Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Tulasi Devi ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, ग्रंथा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, इस्कॉन वर्तमान गुरुवंदे की समाज भक्तों की जय, गौर प्रेमानंद देव हरि हरि बोल. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada की जय. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Ashtaprayeshu Apatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtihi. Moham Karo Devachal Kapatmaham Shri Guram Deta Bhagwan Shri Chaitanya Mission. Hare Krishna. Welcome you all to this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 17, Text 5 to 11. Text 5. Bhava Vayuhu Sudusparshaha Utkaran Irayan Muhu Unmulayam Nagapatin Vatyaniko Rajodvajaha. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Their blue winds, which were most uninviting to the touch, hissing again and again and uprooting gigantic trees. They had storms for their armies and clouds of dust for their ensigns. When there are natural disturbances like blowing cyclones, too much heat or snowfall, and uprooting of trees by hurricanes, it is to be understood that the demoniac population is increasing, and so the natural disturbance is also taking place. There are many countries on the globe, even at the present moment, where all these disturbances are current. This is true all over the world. There is insufficient sunshine, and there are always clouds in the sky, snowfall, and severe cold. These assure that such places are inhabited by demoniac people who are accustomed to all kinds of forbidden, sinful activity. Text 6. Uddasat taddid ambodha gataya nashta bhagane vyumni pravishta tamasa nasmabhyad drishyate padam. Translation Shilpa. The luminaries in the heavens were screened by masses of clouds in which lightning sometimes flashed as though laughing. Darkness reigned everywhere, and nothing could be seen. Text 7. Chukro Shavimana Bhardir Udurmihi Shubitodaraha Sodapanascha Saritash Chakshubuhu Suksha Pankajaha. The ocean with its high waves wailed aloud as if stricken with sorrow, and there was a commotion among the creatures inhabiting the ocean. The rivers and lakes were also agitated and lotuses withered. Text 8. Muhu Paridayo Bhuvan Saravo Shashi Sudyayoho Nirgata Rata Nirradha Vivarebhya Prajadnire. Translation Shilpa. Misty halos appeared around the sun and the moon during solar and lunar eclipses again and again. Claps of thunder were heard even without clouds, and sounds like those of rattling chariots emerged from the mountain caves. Text 9. Antar grameshu mukatho vimantyo paknim ulbanam shugalo luka tankara rai pranedur Shivam Shivaha. In the interior of the village, she-jackals yelled portentously, vomiting strong fire from their mouths, and jackals and owls also joined them with their cries. Text 10. Sangeetavad Rodanavad Unmaya Shirodaram Vimunchan Vivida Vacho Gramasimhas Tatastataha. Translation Shilpa. Raising their necks, dogs cried here and there, now in the manner of singing and now of wailing. Text 11. There are no purport in this sloka. Text 11. Karascha Karkashaikshattaha Kurair Grananto Dharatalam Karkara Rabasa Mattaha Paryadhavan Barutashaha. Translation Shilpa. O Vidura, the asses ran hither and thither in herds, striking the earth with their hard hooves and wildly braying. Asses also feel very respectable as a race, and when they run in flocks hither and thither in so-called jollity, it is understood to be a bad sign for human society. Hare Krishna. So these few verses mention Magyanti Miranda Snananjan Shalakya Chakshran Vidamaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayanrup Kadamaham Dadati Swapadam Mundeham Shri Guru Shri Dapadakamam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sargana Raghunathanvitam Tam Stivam Satvaitam Savadotam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sargana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanuste Devi Pranamami Haripriye Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kapasindobhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we see in these few verses as to how there were a lot of inauspicious signs that were being seen with the appearance of these demons. Now, Shastras explain as to how when the Lord appears or the Lord's pure devotees appear, then we see a lot of auspicious signs. And at the same time, when demons appear, we see a lot of inauspicious signs. That means when inauspicious signs are seen, one should understand that there's something very unfortunate that is going to happen. When we say unfortunate, it may not be unfortunate for one who is seeing it, but it could be in general also. So some examples are given here as to how natural calamities like storms, cyclones, and all these things happen. And many suffer. Sometimes floods happen, severe floods, and a lot of people are put into difficulties. Sometimes we see when we pass by the streets, or maybe we are sitting at home also, a dog might cry. They have a specific way of making that noise. Sometimes the asses, they bray. So these are all signs that indicate something very unfortunate or something not good likely to happen. So which many people believe also, and it is true also. So we see here that Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that when natural calamities happen, like cyclones and thunder, it is an indication that the demoniac population is increasing. Or when the Lord or his devotees appear, then we see auspicious signs. And when they leave or when they disappear, then we see inauspicious signs. So we see here in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, from the 14th chapter, as to how when the Lord, actually Arjuna went to Dwarka to see the Lord, and for quite some time he did not return back. So Maharaj Yudhishthira was wondering as to why Arjuna has gone and he has not come back. And also Yudhishthira Maharaj started seeing a lot of inauspicious omens which were very, very fearful in nature. So he observed some discrepancies started happening in his kingdom. That is, people who are all very speaking the truth and very, very honest and sincere, they started taking to bad habits like, cheating and talking lies and all those things. So Yudhishthira Maharaj started seeing a lot of inauspicious signs. People were changing. The weather was also not very good. It was changing. The seasons were changing. You see, normally when we see summer, of course not in Bangalore, but generally in summer we have a lot of sun. Then when it is monsoon, it rains. In winter, it is cold. But something happens different. For example, we see that there is rain in summer. Then it is seasonal change, which is not there, which is not the right thing to happen. But sometimes if it happens, it can be due to many reasons. But generally, it is said that these seasons and all change when there are people who are demoniac, their population is increasing. Because demoniac people generally tend to take up the sinful activities. So when these things happen, that is also a sign that we see a lot of inauspicious signs. Yudhishthira Maharaj was wondering that time was changing, and he also saw a lot of signs of which lead to fearfulness. There were disruptions in seasons. People had become very greedy, angry, deceitful, and then he saw that they were adopting foul means of livelihood. People who are generally sincere, they won't take any foul means of livelihood. But he saw generally people were seeing a lot of foul means, taking up foul means of livelihood. There were a lot of disruptions in family relations. For example, husband and wife fighting with each other, or father and mother having quarrel with their children. This way, he was seeing a lot of inauspicious signs. And after all these things, he spoke to his brother Bhima. He says that he could actually. Narada Muni also came some time back and told that Lord Krishna will be winding up his pastimes from this mortal world. So when Yudhishthira Maharaj saw all these inauspicious signs, he started speaking to Bhima. He said, all our has the time come that Narad Muni predicted that Lord will be winding up his pastimes from this mortal world? It is from him only all the kingly opulences, our good wives, lives, everything that is there. We got victory over the enemies, and all these things happened. All these things only due to the costless mercy of the Lord on us. See, he's telling, oh man, see the tiger's strength. How many miseries due to celestial influences? Celestial influences means actually like the celestial influences lead to thunderstorm, cyclone, and all these things. Many times we see oceans having severe floods. When it floods, then it takes away the inhabitants living on the seashore, or destroys a lot of houses and things like that. So Yudhishthira Maharaj was seeing all these reactions, and he was feeling that something dangerous is likely to happen in the near future. Then he said, the left side of my body, my thighs, arms, they are all quivering. I'm having heart palpitations due to fear. All these indicate some undesirable happenings that are going to be there. So how do you find, just see when the she-jackal cries at the rising sun and vomits fire, how the dogs are barking at me fearlessly. So these are all indications of bad omen. So then he continues, see how cows are passing by my left side, and lower animals like the asses are circumambulating me. See, when normally when we see a cow passing by home, we think, yes, it is very, very auspicious. At the same time, when asses circumambulate or stand near you, you think it's very, very inauspicious. These are all signs that Yudhishthira Maharaj was seeing. He says further that the horses appear to weep upon seeing me. I mean, Yudhishthira Maharaj was a great devotee of the Lord. So he was seeing that the horses were looking at Yudhishthira Maharaj and started weeping. He is asking Bhima, how come this is happening? The owls and crows, they all shriek and make a loud sound. Sorry, I'm not well today. And he says how the smoke is encircling the sky. So he saw like this lot of cloudless thunder, bolt coming, the wind blowing very violently. All these are mentioned in the 14th chapter of the first canto. And he was wondering that, yes, my younger brother Arjuna has gone to Dwarka and he has not come back so far. Even the deities, it is said that they seem to be crying in the temple. So he was lamenting for all these things. He was wondering what calamities is going to happen now. So then he started contemplating that all these disturbances indicates that there is some great loss that is going to be coming to this world. So far, the world has been very, very fortunate because Lord Krishna has placed his lotus feet on this earthly planet. And these signs indicate that it's no longer going to be. So, well, like this, Yudhishthira Maharaj was contemplating. That's the time Arjuna came back from the city of Dwarka. And then when Arjuna came back, he bowed at the feet of Yudhishthira Maharaj. And Yudhishthira Maharaj saw that Arjuna was very, very dejected. His head was down. I mean, normally, if we do something wrong and we are of a respectable nature or character, we will put our head down in front of the seniors. So Arjuna put his head down and tears were coming from his eyes. So after seeing Arjuna, he was very, very pale and looking a lot of anxiety and symptoms like that. Yudhishthira Maharaj was remembering again the indications that Narad Muni had given. So he's asking Arjuna, my dear brother, please tell me whether our friends and relatives such as Madhu, Bhoja, and all the members of the Yadu family, how are they passing their days in this? Are they happy? He's asking whether my uncle Vasudeva and his younger brothers, how are they? They are all doing well. How about his 7 wives headed by Devaki? and all her sisters? Are their sons and daughters-in-law happy? So this way Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking Arjuna. And then he is further asking, how is Kamsa, who was very, very mischievous, and how is his younger brother, how is Pradyumna, how is Aniruddha, the plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead, faring? Then he comes to the point, he's asking whether Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, who gives pleasure to the cows, the senses, the brahmanas, and who is very affectionate towards all the devotees, is he enjoying in Dwarka surrounded by his friends? He's asking, please tell me whether your health is all right. You seem to have lost a lot of bodily luster. See, when some tragedy happens somewhere to someone very close by, then what happens is we lose our bodily luster. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking, why is it that you have lost your bodily luster? Is it possible that somebody asked for a protection and you could not give protection? Because normally, Kshatriya, when somebody is in difficulty or needs protection, they approach a Kshatriya. And Arjuna was a Kshatriya. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking, did somebody ask for you and were not able to give protection? Or have you not been able to take care of old men or boys who deserve to be with you and dining with you? Have you left them and taken your meals alone? See, how nicely these questions Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking. Have you left them and taken your meals alone? So that means the culture was that generally members of a family, friends, they all have their meals together. Then he's asking, have you committed some unpardonable mistake, which is considered to be abominable? When we do some mistake, generally what happens is that a good or a sincere person feels very repentant. Oh, I have done this. But a person who is not very honest, he may not even bother about it. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking all these questions. And he could contemplate, and he felt compassion for Arjuna. Arjuna started replying, O king, the supreme personality of Godhead, Hari, who treated me just like an intimate friend, has left me alone. It means Arjuna has been left alone by Krishna. Thus my power, which astonished even the demigods, is no longer with me. I have just lost him, whose separation for a moment would render all the universes unfavorable and void, like bodies without life. So Arjuna is now coming to the point and he's answering that he had a lot of power, which astonished even the demigods. So he says that all that power I have lost is because Krishna has left this planet. And then he says, I have just lost him, with whose separation for a moment would render all the universes unfavorable and void. That means he feels that everything is dead or there is no life anywhere because he has lost, he is feeling separation from the Supreme Lord. Then Arjuna replies, only by his merciful strength was I able to vanquish all the lusty princes assembled at the palace of King Drupada for the selection of the bridegroom. So because of the strength that was given by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, he was able to conquer all the demigods and win over them and able to get all the princes for marriage. Then he says that with my bow and arrow, I could pierce the fish target and thereby gain the hand of Draupadi. So as to how he got Draupadi, by piercing a fish target. And then he says, because he was near me, it was possible for me to conquer with great dexterity the powerful king of heaven, Indradeva, along with his demigod associates, and thus enabled the fire god to devastate the Khandava forest. So all these are pastimes that happened and the experiences that Arjuna had. And he says that all these happened only by the mercy of Krishna. And only by his grace was the demon named Maya saved from the blazing Khandava forest. And thus we could build our assembly house of wonderful architectural workmanship, where all the princes assembled during the performance of Rajasuya Yajna and paid tributes. So actually the Pandavas built their house, beautiful assembly house, in a forest. And in that assembly house, all the princes assembled at the time of Rajasuya Yajna. So all this happened by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Then he continues to say that during our exile, Durvasa Muni, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, intrigued with our enemies to put us in a dangerous trouble. We all know this pastime also. One time Durvasa Muni came, and all of a sudden he came with 10,000 disciples, and they wanted to have meals at Prasadam with the Pandavas. And at that time, the time was too short, and they said that they will go and take bath and come. So they were wondering how can they host so many of all of them at a time. That is the time when Krishna appeared, and Lord Krishna just took some prasadam, accepted the remnants of food, and when the Lord had, then by the time they were taking this bath, Durvasa Muni and his associates, they were feeling that their stomach was full. There is no need to go to the Pandavas' house, because if we go, if we are not able to eat, then they will feel shy. They will feel bad. So they thought that better to go straight away, leave straight away without going to the house of Pandavas. So Arjuna feels that yes, Krishna saved them even at that critical juncture. Like this, the Pandavas were saved in many, many occasions, and Arjuna recalls that how these things could happen only by the mercy of Lord, and that Lord has left this mortal world. Then he says, I stayed for some days as a guest in the heavenly planets. All the heavenly demigods, including Indradeva, everybody took shelter of my arms, which are marked with the Gandiva bow, to kill the demon named Navata Kavacha. Then he says, O king, at the present moment, I am bereft of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose influence I was so powerful. So Arjuna is concluding that he became a very powerful warrior only because Lord Krishna was present with him. Now, these are all signs that Arjuna could see. And then the Pandavas, that is the time we will see that they also wound up their pastimes. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord is telling Uddhava, O saintly Uddhava, in the near future, I will abandon this earth. That means these are the signs that the Lord is telling Uddhava as to why he should also wind up. Uddhava is a very, very close devotee of the Supreme Lord. So Lord is telling Uddhava, O saintly Uddhava, in the near future, I will abandon this earth. Then being overwhelmed by the age of Kali, the earth will be bereft of all the piety. That means when the Lord binds up, when the Lord is present, we will have all auspicious things to be happening. And the Lord is telling that he is going to wind up his pastimes very shortly. And the earth will be bereft of all the piety. There won't be any good signs that are seen. And Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that in Kali Yuga, the living entities are already suffering through so many tribulations, mercilessly fighting against each other. And human society has become very violent, and many open slaughterhouses are open, many innocent animals are killed. So what is happening is large-scale wars are declared, and millions of women are all starving. Even women and children are quickly annihilated. So many things are happening, which is true. We see in today, everywhere, so many battles, wars are taking place. So many people are hungry. So Lord is telling Uddhava in the following verse, my dear Uddhava, you should not remain here on this earth once I have abandoned this world. My dear devotee, you are sinless, but in Kali Yuga, the people will be addicted to all types of sinful activities. Therefore, do not stay here. So the Lord was asking Uddhava, asking also to wind up his pastimes from this mortal world, as people will be becoming many, very, very sinful. And it is very difficult for sinless people to stay amongst the society of sinful people. So the Lord is telling in the further sloka, one who is a kind well-wisher of all living beings, he should not take birth again and fall down, and such a person should wind up. And once he winds up, he will not take birth, the cycle of birth and death. So the Lord is advising that he should also wind up. Now we see how difficult it is for us when we live in a society of demoniac people, even when we go out to do some preaching work, we find so many people criticizing us, what they are doing, what they are preaching. So these are all challenges that happen when we live in a society of demoniac people. So what happens is that whenever there is where the Lord or his devotees appear, we find a lot of auspicious signs. Whereas when the Lord or when his pure devotees disappear or leave the planet, we will see a lot of inauspicious signs. Similarly, in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a mention as to how at the time of the Lord, when the Lord descended in the earth, it mentioned that demigods were raining clouds, sounded nice musical instruments in the sky. The celestial musicians, the Gandharvas, sang the glories of the Lord, while celestial dancing girls known as Apsaras were dancing in ecstasy. That means actually when Lord was appearing as Kapila Dev, there were a lot of, we'll be studying in the few days or few weeks about the appearance of Lord Kapila. How so many auspicious signs were there that even those in the heavenly planets were dancing in ecstasy. That was all because a positive sign that the Lord is going to appear very shortly. Then there's a mention as to how there are some countries with no sunshine or severe cold. If you see some of the European countries and all, there are days when they don't see the sun at all. And then if you see the countries like in the Gulf and all, there's so much of a sun, there's so much of heat. The indication is that people are accustomed to taking up sinful activities. And as sinful activities increase, the earth becomes totally overburdened. And then as we see things get degraded, as days pass by, we see a lot of degradation as Kali Yuga progresses. It's mentioned as to how people will become puffed up due to their opulence and forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we see even today, many rich people we might see, they have become so proud, all this because they have a lot of opulence. And in the process, what happens? They forget that Lord Krishna is the cause of all, whatever they have. One can get at whatever opulence possible only by the mercy of Lord Krishna. There is no doubt about it. And why this example is given? Because even the Pandavas were very opulent, but they were able to understand or realize that whatever they had was by the mercy of the Lord. So similarly, if we see in our cases also, many times, many opulent people, they don't believe in God. They think that whatever they have is due to their personal endeavor. But maybe they have performed some pious activities in their previous births, due to which they may have some opulence. But such opulence will remain only for a very short time, whereas they will all diminish. In the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a mention as to how conditions will deteriorate or degrade so much by the end of this Kali Yuga that things will become very difficult for a common man to live. In fact, we see that even today, we find it very difficult to live with so many problems. And the 12th canto, there's a mention of how so many things will happen by the end of Kali Yuga. So the indication is given how the qualities of men will start diminishing and impure qualities will increase, which we see. Then it is mentioned as to how atheistic systems of so-called religion become predominant, replacing the codes of Vedic law. So many atheistic philosophies are coming out in the society today, day by day. Every day we find somebody claiming to be God, or somebody saying somebody else is God. There is no God. Then there's a mention as to how kings become just like highway bandits. How kings, that means actually the king which will start plundering the wealth of the citizens in the form of taxation. And actually when a king extracts taxes from a citizen, he's supposed to give protection. Only on that, a king can extract taxes, not otherwise. But we see today in the society, so much of taxes are put on the common man. But on the other hand, they don't have any protection. The protection is very minimal. So it's said that kings will become just like highway bandits. People will become addicted to low occupations, and all the social classes become just like Sudras. That means We know the 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. So here is mentioned as to how all the brahmanas, kshatriyas, vaishyas, they all will become shudras. All the cows become like goats. That means the cows will become to the size of a goat, and all spiritual hermitages become like material homes. And family ties extend no further than the immediate relationship of marriage. That means even there will be no harmony within the family relationships. And then it is indicated that as his brain indicate a lot of bad sign for the human society. So even today when asses make that sound, we feel there is very bad sign. So all these were, even Yudhishthira Maharaj could see, and indication that these things will happen. So these are all indications that as to how as Kali Yuga progresses, there will be a lot of degradation, and also that lifespan, the age of a common man would be around 10 years, 12 years, which is already started happening now. We find many times even children die at a very early age. So why all this happen is that at least we should learn that we should take shelter of the Supreme Lord. Queen Kunti prays in the a lot of wonderful prayers are there in the first canto, which we might have read. In the first canto, 8th chapter, she prays in following slokas. She says, "My dear Krishna, your Lordship has protected us from a poison decay, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly, from sufferings during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashwatthama." So she is trying to recollect how all these things were happening by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And the verse number 25, she says that I wish all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. So Queen Kunti is praying that I pray that I see all these calamities happening again and again. Because if I see these calamities again, then that means I can see you again and again. And by seeing you means we become free from the cycle of birth and death. This is how Queen Kunti is praying. The point is that devotees look at calamities positively. They may be inauspicious signs, but that is the only way to take shelter of the Lord. Because normally when we have difficulty in life, we take shelter of the Lord. But as soon as we pass over the difficulty or the crisis period is over, then we forget the Lord who saved us. But this is how devotees look at that. Yes, it has happened because his Lord is giving a reminder that I should take shelter of him. And then the following sloka, she says, my Lord, your Lordship can be easily approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. That means when one is bereft of all the opulences, or when one is in difficulty, that is the time one approaches the Lord. One who is on the path of progress or material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling. See, the Lord is our Supreme Father. He has given us so many things. He has protected us from so many situations, difficult situations. But what happens is that when we come out of it and when we have opulence, and particularly it is mentioned here as to how when somebody is on the path of material progress, when we progress materially, trying to improve ourselves with a lot of opulence, or we have very high education, when somebody is highly qualified, he thinks he's highly a respectable person in the society. Or when somebody is very, very beautiful, they think, oh, he or she is so beautiful, but they cannot approach the Lord with a sincere feeling. They won't have that feeling. Even if they have something for the Lord, some understand, they know that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord. That feeling which they would have if they did not have that opulence will not come. This is what this sloka says, which is true. There might be many who are very opulent, even may believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they will not have that feeling, oh, my Lord is the cause of everything that has happened or that is happening in my life. They will think that whatever is there, the opulence, they become proud or puffed up out of their opulence. So the point is that the conclusion we have to take is that irrespective of whatever we are, however we are placed, however whether materially placed opulently or with lot of difficulty, you must understand, yes, Lord Krishna is the cause of all causes. And it is only because of him, whatever we have, that is also given to us by him only for a particular purpose. And this is possible to understand easily only in the human form of life. Because it is said in the Shastras how the great demigods, they are all servants of the Lord. But so many areas, times we see that they become puffed up. So that will happen to us also tomorrow if we have a lot of opulence. Today we may be practicing a lot of devotional service. But if we are not able to mature in our devotional service, then the Lord arranges birth for us in the next time in our devotee family. But what happens if we have a lot of opulence? Then we start again forgetting the Lord. We forget that, yes, whatever we have is given to us by the Lord himself. So that is why the Lord then starts understanding and puts even the difficult devotees into difficulty so that they can take shelter of his lotus feet. So all these calamities happen when there is an increase in demoniac population. And as Kali Yuga progresses, we will see a lot of calamities coming also, because people with demoniac attitude and tendency, they are increasing day by day. And a time will come that people will not believe in God anymore. And then people will become demoniac totally in mentality. We will be finding it very difficult to find even a person, sincere person in the mode of goodness. People will be highly passionate, ignorant, fighting with each other, trying to kill each other, trying to steal others' wives. So many things are there which are already happening. It's just about 5,000 years. And it is mentioned that Kali Yuga will be about 4,32,000 years. So if we have to take birth again in this Kali Yuga, we must understand how things will be deteriorating as Kali Yuga progresses and progresses. At least the final years will be very, very difficult for us, for anyone to live. At least we should pray to the Lord that we go back to our home much before that. And if we sincerely practice devotional service, definitely the Lord will take us back. It is in his own interest. There is no father who will neglect his children. So Krishna is doing everything for our own interest. But even now, it is not that the Lord is away from us. So when we chant the holy name of the Lord is with us. But many times we might chant and we might forget the Lord also. But even the chanting of the holy name is given to us only for us to remember the Lord. Sometimes we might think that they are saying, okay, chant 16 rounds and observe the 4 regulative principles. Yes, chanting 16 rounds is good enough. But what happens is that 16 rounds may not be sufficient enough for us to remember the Lord. So, but it is a process of the beginning of the process. So by chanting 16 rounds, at least we develop some taste for chanting. What happens is that when 2 people are idle, or 2 men or 2 women are idle, they have finished all their sadhana, they start talking about so many things that are not relevant to devotional life, about politics or economics and so many things, Like I go for a walk in the evening to a park, we find so many elderly people, they don't have anything to discuss, but they'll be discussing about politics and economics and conditions of life, but nobody will talk about the Lord. So these are all things that we see now itself in the beginning of Kali Yuga. And we must understand from this, what will be the situation as Kali Yuga progresses. So we must take this as a warning for us and take up the devotional service very seriously. And the simple process is just chanting the holy name of the Lord. Even if we have 2 minutes of time, idle time, take up the chanting. It may not help us complete 1 round, but at least when chanting, what happens is we try to recollect our relationship with the Lord. We have lost our relationship with the Lord. And this chanting is the beginning of the means of reviving that relationship. Once our chanting becomes sincere and we are able to remember the Lord always, that is the time we will understand, yes, the Lord is with us. Otherwise, for some time we might remember, sometimes we might forget. All these things can happen. And so in order that we don't forget the Lord, the Lord puts us into so many difficulties so that we take shelter of Him. So anytime we see difficulties in life, we must understand, yes, now it is for me to remember the Lord and not forget the Lord. With this, I conclude the class for the day. Rest few minutes, I can take some questions, some comments, if you have any. Any questions, any comments? Anybody? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I see a message, we are unable to unmute. I'm myself not tech savvy, so I don't know how to unmute. Anyway, if you have no questions or comment, thank you all very much. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, like as you were saying in the class, 16 rounds is not enough to remember Lord Krishna.
Yes.
So what exactly is the good way to remember Krishna, like always?
The best way to remember is chant, Prabhu. And then sometimes if we have difficulty, we may be in places where chanting may be difficult. We can always hear. Today, nobody is forgetting their mobile phone at any cost. They may forget everything in life, but they will not forget a mobile phone, carrying a mobile phone with them. So it is very easy to put the lectures of acharyas or pure devotees of the Lord in the mobile and listen wherever possible, whenever possible. The point is that to be always engaged in thinking of Krishna. So chanting is the easiest. If sometimes after finishing our rounds, we have in places where we are not able to chant, it's possible to hear with a mobile phone or a MP3 player with some headphones. So many opportunities are there so that we are always connected with Krishna. That is very important. Shravanam Kirtanam will lead us to Vishnu Smaranam. So that is the easiest and that is the best way possible. Association of devotees actually is a must because we can develop a taste for chanting, hearing and chanting only in the association of devotees. If we think that, yes, we may be at home, but as much as possible, we should try and associate with devotees. Associations of devotees will help us develop a taste, because when two devotees practicing devotional service sincerely, they won't talk about politics or economics. They will talk about devotional service. So association of devotees is a must, which will help us develop or increase our taste for Shravanam and Kirtanam. In today's time, it is not at all very difficult to hear and chant. Sometimes you can even chant on clickers if you have a problem, but the chanting of the rounds, minimum number of rounds has to be done on the beats. Otherwise, if you're in a public place, you have sensitive places, you can even chant with the clicker. I've seen many devotees even chanting mentally. So if you are practicing, if you have developed a taste, you will automatically chant your rounds wherever you are, however you are placed. So maybe the first few months or years may be difficult, but as you associate with devotees and see how they are practicing, you will also be able to develop a taste for that. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Next. Anyone else? Thank you all very much. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, you are the host. Can you please end the meeting?
How do I do? Shall I? Okay, 1 second. I'll switch it off and then switch on. Okay. I already left the meeting.
No. There is a button called end.
Okay.
There is a button called end.
Okay. Okay.
Just
okay.
end the meeting, please.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Okay.